Sup, y'all? Hope everybody's doing well. We have a very fun and interesting topic for today's video, and that is the topic of free will. Do I have a choice in being an atheist? For the purposes of this video, I am only talking about in context of if the Abrahamic God, the God of Christianity, actually exists. I will not be talking about quantum indeterminism or just regular determinism. I will not be talking about Cartesian free will. I will not be talking about libertarian free will, because for the purposes of this specific video, they are kind of irrelevant. If there's a demand to, I might get to those at a later point in a different video. But for the purpose of this one, there's a few things I feel that are important to address. One of them is the fact that people keep telling me that if only I open my heart to Christ, that I could be saved and I could see the error of my ways. Here's the thing, as I said in my deconversion video, I was a Christian for most of my life. I mean, I really was. I'm not going to rehash all that, go watch a video. So, the thing is, I don't think I have a choice to be an atheist. One of the many reasons I say this is because you don't get to choose your beliefs. One way or another, you do not choose what you believe. You are either convinced by something or you are not convinced by something. If someone tells you Proposition A is true, you are either convinced of Proposition A or you are not convinced of Proposition A. So in this case, Proposition A would be the idea that God exists. I am not convinced that God exists. So, and that's because nothing has convinced me of it. I would not have a choice to, I do not have a choice to not be convinced. I'm just not convinced. There might be something someday that does convince me. But as it stands, I'm not convinced, and I don't have a choice in that matter because I can't choose what convinces me, no matter how hard I might try, or even if I want to or not. If something is compelling, it's compelling. If it's convincing, it's convincing. And it's a tautology, but that's honestly just the way our objective reality works. That said, if there is an omniscient, all-knowing God out there that has a plan for everyone and everything, it is quite literally impossible to have free will. Hear me out before you start screaming at me. The reason I say this is because if there is a God that knows every choice I'm ever going to make, from every word I've ever written down anywhere, to every fashion choice I've ever made, I really have no choice in that matter. That's because if something knows for a fact what's about to happen, there is no way to change that, because otherwise you would be violating the idea that it knows everything. Think about this. One of my favorite movies is called Dogma, from the View Askewniverse, if that's how you say it, I don't know. Anyway, the movie Dogma ends with Alanis Morissette playing God, coming back down to Earth and forgiving these fallen angels. I've seen this movie about 3 dozen times. The fact of the matter on this one, though, is that no matter how many times I watch this movie, the events of it will not change. As far as the characters go that are living in their own little subset of reality that we call that movie, nothing on that can change. The movie just is what it is. I know everything that's going to happen in that movie, so despite whatever they might be thinking at a time in the movie, if that was even possible, there is nothing they can do to change the outcome. The angels can't circumvent God and actually get into heaven, yada yada. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go see the movie. It's amazing. It's got a Jay and Silent Bob in it. It's an old one, but it's pretty amazing. Anyway, so if there is a creator deity and he knows every choice I'm gonna make, And then if this creator deity also has a plan for everyone in the world for all time, and of course he does because that's how prophecy works, then I have no choice in anything I do. I did not even choose to put on this cap that I have on today. I did not choose to sit down in this room and make this video today. Those were predetermined choices according to God's plan. The reason this must be the case is if we can change God's plan, then A, God is not omniscient. And if we can change God's plan, he's not as powerful as we may think. I have plans that I have to make for my work. Sometimes those plans has to be changed. However, the thing is, when I set a plan for work, that plan can't be changed by anything other than me, which means if something changes in the plan, it's not because the actors of the plan, the people who have to carry out the plan, chose to do so differently. So, if God has his plan for us, only God can change his plan. We can do nothing to change that plan, which inevitably and logically leads to the fact that we don't have a choice because we can't change anything about it. If I wanted to go in and shave all this scrag off my face, I don't actually have a choice in it. If I do or not was predetermined long ago, eons ago, before, people that I could call my ancestors that ever even existed. And that's the funny part, because one of the reasons I became an atheist is because I could not bring myself to any longer to be able to justify the immorality of the Abrahamic holy books. And now thinking about this, it tells me that I didn't have no choice but to, look at those holy books as immortal, look at this God as an evil being, which I do. Watch my other videos, I'll be making more about this shortly, plus I write extensively about this in my book. But anyway, so I did not have a choice but to think this thing was immoral and probably evil. I just did not. That's the way these things work. Now, all that said, I want to ask you, dear viewer, to think about something and to honestly think about something if you have a choice to think about something. What I want you to think about is the fact that if I have no choice in anything I do, I have no choice in the fact that nothing has been able to convince me that a God exists. I have no choice in that because it's part of God's plan and he knows I just will not accept whatever evidence he's thrown at me thus far to believe in him. None of that's been my choice if this God exists and he's omniscient. It just hasn't. But if I were to keel over and die right now, I would go to hell for not accepting Christ. That means I would go to hell for something that's entirely not my decision. I hear all the time that we send ourselves to hell for not accepting Christ. My position on this is that God sends us to hell because he does not allow us to accept Christ, because he knows we're not going to accept Christ from the beginning. Sure, I would love to sit there and believe in an afterlife and that I get to reunite with the people I've loved through the years, especially my grandfather, who was my hero to me growing up. But the fact of the matter is, I just have not been convinced by any of that. And none of that is my choice, because again, I don't choose what convinces me. I don't choose what my beliefs or lack thereof are. And if this God is real, I didn't get to choose any of that, regardless of even if we could choose what convinces us. So, if God's real and I'm going to hell, it is entirely because God wants me to. That's what I want you to think about. The Abrahamic God, the Christian God, the God of the Bible, is supposed to be the epitome of love, this holy, good, and perfectly more divine being. But if we have no choice in what we believe, and I'm going to go to hell for my not accepting Christ, but I didn't have a choice but to not accept Christ, who's at fault for that? It certainly can't be me if I don't have a choice. So that would lay the fault strictly on the shoulders of this thing you call God. So if God's gonna send me to hell for something I had no choice in the matter, can this thing really be called moral? I do not think so, because something that is wholly good would not even think about sending someone for an infinite amount of time to an infinite amount of punishment for something they literally have no choice over. Just want you to think about that. And while you're thinking about that, you should like this video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Hope you all have a good one.